Welcome to Duelality Gamecast, game reviews by people who love to play games.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Duelality Gamecast. I'm Matt. With me as always is William.
Hey guys, how you doing?
This is our very special episode 1 of our all-new podcast-friendly format. This is a very special format where we're going to have different discussion topics, talk about games we've played, throw in a game review. William this week's going to talk about Game of Thrones. I'm going to bring you some news. I want to start with, we just got back from Gen Con. So how are we doing fresh back from the big con?
Well, it's been 2 weeks, so I'm finally past the con crud. It took me a long time. We got back and I was like, oh, I made it. I mean, I'm exhausted because, I'm in horrible physical shape, but I was completely expecting to get just horribly sick. And then about 2 days after the con, throat started scratching, started coughing, whole body started aching. I didn't get horribly sick, but I just was in bad shape.
Yeah, I got mine all done up front. I had my con crud at the con, I think. But there were no throat problems, unfortunately. But yeah, wow, what a lot to process. Do you feel like you processed it all?
I can barely remember it.
Really?
That's how it feels. It feels like the further I get away from it, the more it just becomes one moment.
Yeah.
While we were there, it felt like a month. And now it feels like it was 20 minutes. It was so quick. The only thing I know for sure is that we got some games.
Yeah.
Right? And I can touch those, so I know I was there. Otherwise, it feels like a dream.
Yeah, it is a little bit it was a blur, for sure. There was a lot of just walking around aimlessly trying to figure out what we were going to do. Definitely, and we mentioned this in our Gen Con review video, but definitely next time around we would probably be way more efficient and effective than we were this time. It was a blur. That's all I can say about it. It was a blur, but it was a lot of fun. But we played some games there. We, like you said, bought some cool games. Let's talk about what we've been playing from the con and since the con.
So the thing we probably played the most recently at least, is Flip City.
Played a lot of Flip City.
I think this was good because we got it at the con. It was portable. It's one of those games that grew on me. I think we started playing it, and I think all of us were kind of meh on it.
Yeah.
And then we spent some time in an airport with just us and Flip City, and we got to know it and love it a little more. It has some cool mechanics and some awkward mechanics to it. It's a deck builder, but the cards are double-sided, so when you shuffle, you have to make stuff the right way. You draw cards off the top, and the top card matters in the deck because sometimes it auto-plays, but when you move it, you might see a card beneath it you're not supposed to, so it has some fiddliness to it.
It does. The two-sided cards was definitely a barrier to my liking it, but you kind of evolve past it because it is a pretty simple, cool game. And we taught it to some members of our game group when we came back to town, too. So it's a solid game. I don't think it's epically good.
Do you think it's going to hit the table as much as it did on our trip?
I think it's a pretty legitimate filler game. So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out again. Especially when we're kind of like, what do we play now? That kind of thing. Another one we played that I thought would fill that role, but now I'm not so sure, was Cthulhu Realms.
Yeah, because it's basically, was it Star Realms?
It's based on the Star Realms engine.
It feels a lot like Star Realms.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, is it feels like to me a less combo-y version of Star Realms, which is what made Star Realms fun, was playing the stuff and spotting other colors. This has it in it, but it just doesn't feel to run as smooth and seem to be the focus as much.
Yeah, I don't know if it was I felt like maybe I got caught up on the iconography the way I didn't do in Star Realms. I just felt like I had to stop and think about what I was looking at a lot more than in Star Realms. But I do like how they've changed the rules for multiplayer.
Yes, vast improvement.
Yeah.
Because what they did is, for those of you at home, if you play Star Realms, normally it's 2 players. You guys sit across from each other, and you just beat the pajosies out of each other with 1 row in the middle. What they did here is, if you're playing with 2 people, it plays the same way. But if you're playing with 3 people, you break that row up into multiple pieces, and each person basically can do the 2 rows that are on either side of them, but not the row that's across from them or next to other people. So it kind of ends up with different card pools. You can only really attack the people kind of adjacent to you. It made it seem kind of... It added the multiplayer to it, which I feel like you could throw right into Star Realms.
Yeah, I think you could adapt this for Star Realms easily. And it comes 4-player out of the box, where Star Realms you have to buy multiple packs to play 4-player. So that's a really cool thing. And it does have some great humorous art in it.
Yep.
I just don't know if I'm sold on it, as a long-term kind of game.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too right now.
We did buy some big box games. You bought Xeno Shift.
Oh, yeah.
We played that in the hotel.
Yes, and that's about the only time we played it.
Yeah.
It's not a knock on it. I enjoyed the game a lot.
I did too.
It's a co-op game. It's a lane combat game type of thing where you're protecting your line and everyone's protecting their own thing. It's co-op in terms that there's communal hit points that everyone's losing, and you can play cards to other people. And the cool thing is when you play cards on someone else's area, it joins their deck.
Yeah.
So each person goes in with kind of a specialty and is good at buying one type of equipment. It starts with certain types of equipment. That person can buy weapons cheap if they're the weapon buy person and give it to their friends. And the person who's good with medicine can give them medicine. And you can kind of spread it all around as needed. Or you can really focus on your own thing and just try to hammer out your own wins. It has an interesting spike at the end because it's played over 3 waves. The 3rd wave, the monsters, they double for wave 2 and they like quadruple on top of that again for wave 3. So it gives you like we're doing good, and dead.
Yeah, because we got a wave 3, and your equipment that you can afford gets better as you go through the waves. And by wave 3, we're buying like giant robots and stuff, and they're like, yeah, giant robots, and those weren't even good enough to win the game.
No,
but like I always say, a good co-op should be really hard, in my opinion. And I also like you said, you're playing cards on your fellow players' decks, basically adding to their decks, which just felt a lot more interesting and neat to me than is it Alien Legendary, where there's like a helper card?
Yes, yeah, that's Coordinate, I think they called it.
Yeah, but it didn't feel as impactful as this.
Because in that you're basically just lending money. This one you're actually saying like, take my gun, and you throw it to the guy.
Yeah.
And that's what was kind of neat about it, is that because you're building up a row, right? And I think there's 4 or 5 spots that you can put your dudes in. Mm-hmm. And typically monsters plow into the front and just keep hammering on it and beat your way back. So you're kind of building up like, well, do I want to throw everything in the front row, trying to hold the line? Do I want to spread out? It has some interesting stuff, and it's the right type of co-op where you can't... it's hard to alpha game this because you're building your own row. You can help other people, but... There isn't like, well, here's your best technique. There's a little bit of that, but it's more like, hey, can you give me a gun? Yeah. And the other person's like, no, I'm using it for my side. Figure it out. Well, that's bad for them, but it had some interesting co-op stuff that I enjoyed.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And if you like Starship Troopers, it's pretty much Starship Troopers.
Yep.
So one of the big ones I bought was Ashes. Whew. I'm convinced, just from what we've dabbled with it so far, that this is probably really should be a 2-player game. That was my impression.
Yes, I agree.
It plays, obviously, kind of magic-y, but in one box, like a sealed environment of decks. You can draft and put components together, but it's not really collectible at all. It's all in one box. I'm sure they'll do expansions, but it's all in one box. And we played, was it a 4-player? 3-player.
We played a 4-player game.
We played a 4-player. And it really felt like it dragged.
Well, it's the same problem that Magic has too, right? It's like, this game is obviously, like, it's tuned well for a dueling game, but when you play with multiple people, you see the problems where there's, like, certain aspects of the game show their weakness, right? Like, there's, like, one of the people have, like, this self-sacrifice to kill my opponent thing going on. That's really cool in a dueling game. In a 4-player game, that doesn't work as well.
It doesn't hold up.
So I think it has the same problems you have of playing Magic. And like, you can play it casual, but you're going to have to build decks completely different and have to come in with a different mindset. It's not coming in to win. It's coming in to play.
Yeah, and you get that whole... For whatever reason, these kind of games, once someone pulls the trigger and goes after somebody, then it becomes like a feeding frenzy. Like, it's not the same as some, board games where one person can go after somebody and that doesn't create in-game. But that seems to be like, once someone finally decides to do it, then everyone starts piling on. And part of the reason the game, I think, took so long was everyone was afraid to pull the trigger. It was like this really slow build. Beautiful game, though. I love the art, and I think in dueling, this could be a lot of fun.
What do you think about the dice mechanic in it?
I like the dice mechanic. Like, I think you just don't see in these card games a dice resource like that, and it made it really interesting. It has a little bit of the Star Wars LCG thing where you put exhaust tokens on things, and there are things you can add exhaust tokens, so there's a little bit of that strategy going on. There's strategies where you can flip the die face, because each die has like a generic symbol, a so-so symbol of that color, and then a uber symbol.
And I think they go up in rarity with that. I mean, it was like 3 of the generic, of the really basic one of the uber one, and 2 of the other ones. Yeah. So every time you roll it, the odds are you're going to get a lot of the junkier ones.
Yeah, so there's a strategies with cards that will change that die face, and I thought it was really interesting. And you can hold dice to the next turn. And it's not like Magic where I go, you go, new turn. It's, playing in rounds until everyone passes kind of thing.
Which I think part of the reason that's how come multiplayer it feels so slow is because if you think about like maybe referencing Magic, because that's maybe some more people played, it's like a game where you'd be like, I play a land, now you play your land, now I tap my land, now you tap your land, now I play this spell, now you play this, and that's how Ashes plays, which is a 2-player game. You're going back and forth, and every creature's going to attack the turn they come into play. So there's this whole thing of like, I summon a creature, so on your next action, you're like, crap, I have to deal with that creature and figure out how to resolve this before they get to go again. And that's what makes it, I think, the dueling aspect of this, which is what the focus is. So even though we're kind of harping on the multiplayer part of it, you come to this thing and it's a dueling game. It seems like out the gate, this is really cool.
Yeah.
It has everything you need here to play, and we haven't gotten to the customization part of it yet, which seems like it could be pretty cool because each faction, and we're spending a lot of time on this, but each faction basically at the beginning of the game, or the beginning of the demo here, each player has 2 different types of colored dice they're using, but you can play with any combination of colors. So you can like splash 1 dice of a color into your deck and just put 1 card that needs that. So it seems like you could have some cool deck design going on in here where you're really counting on that 1 dice to roll well, or spend a lot of resources to up that 1 dice to play your 1 super card, but then you're going to go back and do other things.
Yeah.
It seems like it had a lot of cool design work going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential, and I love the art. It's the same artist as Dead of Winter, but doing all this fantasy stuff, which looks really good. All right, I want to talk about a game that we didn't buy at Gen Con, but we played, and I really enjoyed, and that was Scoville.
Oh, yes.
So I know Scoville's been out for a while, but we never got to play it. And we played with some friends that we met up with at Gen Con. And, it's a sort of Euro-ishy game of planting peppers and breeding new kinds of peppers and fulfilling orders for those peppers and making cool recipes. And you get victory points that way. And it has a spatial element where you're moving around this pepper field and you have to drop peppers. And then you got to walk by peppers to pick new types of peppers. And you got to time it right. I really enjoyed this game. Did you like it?
I liked it. It had like multi-levels of complexity to it. Because really, there was like the board planting peppers, walking around where you could kind of walk in front of someone else's path and mess them up. But it still had also it's kind of a point salad game. In a way, because basically you're collecting peppers, and then you can either use those peppers to plant, to cash in to get victory points, to cash in to get victory points and other peppers. And then as you crossbreed them, they become better and better and better. And so, like, we all kind of had divergent strategies in the first game we played. Like, I went Ghost Pepper, which is like the highest end pepper was my focus. It seemed like you were going more mid-range and like the point cards.
Trying to.
Yeah. And then one of the guys that played it before, he was going heavy in point cards. And that's what his whole engine was. And it worked out that we all kind of played differently, and it still felt competitive.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And there's an expansion coming up that we'll talk about later. All right, what else? We played, this is actually before we went to Gen Con, but I picked up a cool little game from Z-Man called Traders of Osaka. This is a really small box game with a little board, with some cool little ship meeples, and it's a kind of what would you call a set collection game?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're moving these ships. They're not your ships, but what you play affects how they move. and they move on this very small board, and you're trying to cash in stuff, basically. But there's a couple spots on the board where when it's time to cash in, if the boats are there, those boats get wiped out by, I think it's called the Black Tide or something like that.
Yeah, something.
So there's a little bit of timing. I don't know, it was kind of like a light pick up and deliver, but it's not really pick up and deliver because they're not your ships. You're doing sort of a card set collection thing and trying to time it right. But I liked it. I'd play it again.
But yeah. I feel like it has that nice, I don't even know what to categorize it, heavy lightweight game.
Yeah.
For lack of a term, it's a little bit longer than a typical filler, but it's not a full length game. But it was the right length for how much game you get out of it.
Yeah.
It was fun. The actions you take really do like affect the board. You can kind of, I guess you aren't technically sinking ships. They get hit by the tide and they go back, but you can kind of purposely like kind of tank your turn, like mess up your turn a little bit, but mess up everyone else's turns a lot. You know, you get some points, they get none type of a thing. It has the same type of thing that like Puerto Rico has, I feel about too, where like turn order and like the actions you take can really like, and that's where you don't think about it, but that's where the game's actually at more so than the, oh, I played some red goods, yay, type of a thing. Right. So yeah, it was enjoyable, and I want to play with a big group.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So another game we bought and played was from Asmodee. It's a game called RYU. Heard a little buzz at the con about it, and then I saw it at the Asmodee booth. And it was a beautiful looking box, so I had to have it, and that's going to be our review today.
So RYU has this awesome setup storyline. Basically, the world's been flooded by the tears of an ancient dragon. The dragon's left, and the fear is it's coming back. So because the world's been flooded, there's basically 5 mountain peaks that these 5 races have managed to survive on top of. And knowing the dragon's coming back, they're all trying to build this effigy to it to prove that they're the chosen race and they should be the ones who survive when the dragon returns. So the game is pretty simple. Basically, there's going to be 9 tiles laid out. They're always the same 9 tiles. 5 of them are connected to the players, and 4 of them are kind of like freelance. Like they're the other races that didn't manage to get on a mountaintop, basically, living out in boats in the ocean. On your turn, you move and activate a tile. So you can move up to 2 spaces, or stay where you're at. You can keep activating the same tile multiple times. If you're on a player space, basically you flip it over, activating it. You draw some cubes out of the bag, and then the player whose tile you're on gets to look at those cubes. Kind of either you're going to draft them, or they're going to divide up into pools, and you're going to pick back and forth, and you're going to end up with extra cubes, which is basically what you're going to use to buy parts of your effigy. And that's how all the player tiles work. And then there's the more neutral race abilities, and those have to do usually with trading out and collecting tokens. So there's tokens there's basically 3 tokens in the game. 2 of them don't do anything on their own. I think they're called merchant and smuggler tokens. The third one is governor token, I believe, and that's basically a wild. So it's kind of the high end what you're trying to get. All the other stuff are kind of like, you can think of kind of like as partial cubes. You're going to use multiples of them to trade in for a governor token, or to trade in for other cubes and that type of a thing. So another action you take besides activating a tile is build basically a part of your effigy. There's 5 pieces for every race. They require so many cubes to build. When you build it, you flip it over. First person to get all 5 pieces built wins the game. There's no final round. There's no victory points. It's just building this effigy. So that's the synopsis to me of how the game works. And you can see how quickly I just kind of plowed through it there. There isn't a lot of game to this, I feel.
It's pretty light.
It feels, it's everything that you think of a Euro game being. Like, it's the cliches. You're building, instead of a cathedral, you're building an effigy to a dragon. And there's no unique powers or abilities between the players. Everyone's exactly the same. There's 3 resources, and, well, 4, I guess. There's 3 different color cubes, plus a gold cube. But they're all in the bag, and you draw them out. Everyone's dragon effigy costs the same things to build in the same order. The first tile requires, I think, 1 of each. The next one requires 3 of the same color. The next one requires 1 of each. And then 3 of the same color. And the last one requires 1 of each plus 2 gold. Whenever you're taking these actions, you have to spend a gold from behind your board. And the only way to get gold is by mining it, by taking these actions. So you end up with this weird state where if you can have tokens or beads, whatever you want to call them, cubes. I'm getting excited here about this game. Listen to me. And you spend all your gold, you have no way to get more cubes. So then this game punishes like novice players by getting them in weird board lock states. I know I'm just kind of playing about it. It's because we came in with such high hopes for this game, I think. The art looked good. I mean, they have these amazing dragon meeples
Cool
that, I mean, maybe the game's almost worth it just for them alone, I think. But it's so shallow. It feels like a game that wasn't completed, or that was someone saying like, hey, what's a Euro game like? And someone's like, well, let me just build this little like quick system here to show you how a Euro game works.
I'm pretty much on the same page. When people ask me what I thought of this game, my description of it was basically, it functions. It's not a broken game. Can't hate it for that.
No, yeah, it works fine.
But it's very light. It's themeless. Like, this is a great example of a slapped-on theme, for sure. Beautiful art, good components. And that's what suckered me into buying it. But, man, I've definitely played games. Now, this was made, I think, by Madigo, or one of the companies under the Asmodee umbrella. And then Asmodee was selling it at Gen Con at their booth. But I've played games from Asmodee that are just blow this thing out of the water, and I was pretty disappointed. There's just not enough going on, and the bits of this game that you could say, well, that adds a layer of complication or complexity, they don't feel natural. They feel tacked on.
That's all they're doing is adding complexity.
Yeah. They're not. It's thematically doesn't work, and the flow of the game is just like, meh. And it got roundly criticized by the people we played with for, I'm going to go with these stupid tokens, and I'm going to go get these stupid tokens. And I'll cash in these tokens, and what's that give me? It gives me one of these stupid tokens. And it just didn't... Where's the fun? It's just going around in circles, and it's essentially a race, but not a fun
It's a race where you're all in the same speed car, going around the same track with the same driver.
Yeah.
And the rule book. The rule book... It reads fine, but it omits things and it's obviously from a translation thing. It calls some tokens, when it references a token, it calls it one name in its own little box showing you the token. But when it tells you to use it, it calls it a completely different name.
Yeah, which makes sense in a translator, because the one was Prospector, and they also called it Explorer. So, okay, those words are related, and you can't use both terms.
And we figured it out eventually, but there was another, I forget what it was called. There's a token that shows whenever you harvest from someone else's tile, basically they flip over a little tile and it's in front of them, and it's going to show you, and I think that's the Prospector token, and that's going to show you how many gems you're going to draw out of the bag or how many cubes.
Yeah.
The instructions never said and never showed that where that token is. It gives you 5, so you assume it's one for each player. The one picture it shows of the game shows it in the middle of the table, one of them. So not only is this game isn't overly complex, but there's layers of complexity added onto it for no real purpose, and it wasn't translated well, and the instructions aren't complete.
Right. I think this was originally, I could be wrong, but what I heard was this game was originally a Korean game. So it's picked up by Madigo Asmodee, which I'm pretty sure are based in France. And now we're getting an English version of the rules, so yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't like the sentence structure was bad. I mean, you read it, it made complete sense, just stuff was omitted.
Yeah. So, for me, this would be a pass. I love the art and the component quality, but the game doesn't work for me at all.
Yeah, I would go for a pass too. I would, if someone wanted to play it, I would sit down and play a game with it because it's not a long game. But yeah, it's if you're like, hey, do you want to play RYU? Or however you say it, I would say, no, I'm good. I think I'll pass. Yeah.
Well, now that we've kind of got our lather up a little with that, excellent time to move into our next segment where we're going to talk, or more specifically, you're going to talk a little bit about the Game of Thrones LCG. Ooh.
So my start experience with Game of Thrones is waiting in the Fantasy Flight line. The first day I waited for about 25, 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, got up the front, and they're like, oh no, we don't have any. Maybe someone won't pick a setup that they had like pre-ordered, and you can get it later on. I was like, okay. The next day, we go walking by the Fantasy Flight line. There's a huge stack of them there again. They didn't tell me that they were going to be back again the next day, so luckily it was right out the gate. So I ran around, got in line. 20, 25 minutes later, got in there, grabbed it. There was some other guy next to me that was in line waiting for the same thing. He's telling me like, oh yeah, I'm going to get 2 because there is not a full set. Like there isn't multiples of every card in here, so you need 2 so you can get enough to play the game or to get a full place and everything. I'm like, well, I haven't experienced this. I'm not doubting you, but I'm going to get my one thing. I'll look at it. We'll play with it. It'll be fun. So cut to waiting another 15 minutes, buying the game. Hey, it was a convention, a big long line, so I can't really knock that against the game. Get back to the hotel room, rip the plastic off, pull it open, and there's one of every card in here. Each faction has like a cost reducer card, so like a very common card you're gonna put probably in a lot of decks, and there's 2 of those. But for every other card, there's 1. You can play with up to 3 in a deck. So to get the complete core set of cards, you have to buy 3 core set boxes.
How much were those?
It was $35. So
it was about $100.
Yeah, which that is a lot of money, but it's this many cards. Which I know if you're listening to this, you can't see, but it's about, what is that, 4 inches of cards?
Yeah.
I'm not really complaining about the quantity of it, but the way the rules explain it, I can't even play a legal game of Game of Thrones right now because there's not enough of all the factions and the right cards to do that, as per it said. It suggests that you mix these 2 factions together until you get more cards. Mm-hmm. So it tells you kind of like play the game this kind of funky way until the next stuff comes out. So I realize they've kind of done this with all their other LCGs now in hindsight because I haven't really played any of them. But as a consumer, I was excited about this. We played the collectible game. We skipped 1.0. And by the time I was starting to think it'd be cool, it was so far along in it. I was like, wow, that's a huge investment to catch up. And then I heard they're coming out 2.0. I'm like, awesome. I'm getting in on this. I'm planning on, getting everything. It's going to be cool. I get it. I rip it open, and I can't even play like a real game of it out of the box. I wasn't expecting to, have tons of customization and stuff, but, because it's a small card pool, but I was expecting to be able to build like viable, fully functional decks. And it seems like that isn't their goal with this. This is a mass market tool from everybody I've talked about, because I've been kind of vocal about my opinions on there being 1 of everything when in an LCG, when we should have 3 of everything. And everyone's comments about it are basically, well, the box is there to try to get people who are interested in it so they can play a little bit of it and see what's going on.
It's like a sampler.
It's a sampler, but it's still not like a full game. Like, I would think if they want to do a sampler, they should have done kind of the same direction they went with Star Wars, which, in hindsight, Star Wars was the same way. It didn't have legal-sized decks that we were playing with. But they should have gone with, they just should have gone Stark, Lannister, as the 2 main decks, have enough cards, you can custom build your stuff, I feel. And then people can make their own decks, you kind of tweak a little bit after you play a few times, and you get the full experience, because part of LCGs is the deck building. Yeah. I'd say that's a big part of it. Otherwise, it's a fixed deck game, and then you're playing a game like Sentinels or something else. Like you just pick up a character deck and you're playing with it. The whole point of this is customization, and you don't really get a even touch on that. I realize that's a more advanced level of play, but for me being the consumer, that's what I came in here going for. Like, the first thing I want to do is make my own deck. I don't need to necessarily, I'll play their sample deck to learn how to play one game, but then I want to start mixing stuff in. And I feel like it didn't quite give me enough. So now, don't get me wrong, I'm buying 2 more copies of the core set.
Good, because I didn't want to.
Yeah, and to my understanding, all the expansion stuff is going to have multiple 3 full sets of everything. So all their booster packs, whatever they call them, coming up, that's all going to be complete. It's just a weird. It's stuck in my craw. I don't know why exactly why they did this way. I would have preferred that they would have scaled back, because they added extra factions to this version. They added, the Tyrells, I think?
Yeah.
and the Night's Watch.
The Night's Watch are a full faction.
Which, they're not a house, but, it's cool they did that, because, they're their own thing. But I'm cool if they added that to the game. I just wish that they hadn't made that. I feel like that took away from what I got to play with out the box. So, I don't know. I'm still looking forward to it, but I haven't even played a real game of this yet.
No.
Partly because I'm grumpy because I don't have a full set of cards.
Don't want to.
So I'm going to have to wait till, when is it, September that the game's going? I'm going to wait till September, buy 2 more box sets, then we're going to play this game. And hopefully at that point, it's awesome enough I want to keep going with it. And I think that this is something that I just hope that going forward with future LCGs, because, how many LCGs is Fantasy Flight going to be doing? They can only maintain so many. But I hope anything in the future that they have, or maybe they'll do that with this, they'll make some type of, advanced player purchase pack where you could buy a box that has everything in it. Because they give you this huge box. It's a Fantasy Flight standard insert box. It doesn't really have space to hold cards. So they gave you a big box for a small amount of cards. It felt to me like they could have gone a completely different direction to it, made a little bit smaller footprint for it, and maybe save a little bit, but then double the price of that and give me a full set of everything. But I guess I'm just grumpy because I didn't get the full thing of the toy I wanted. But you know what? That's enough of me rambling. Let's move on to Matt and have him tell us about board gaming news.
All right, let's do some news. Start off with something we've been talking about a lot lately, Gen Con. They released their attendance. 61,423 individual attendees.
That's people's, who bought badges basically and showed up?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's up from last year of 56,614. I think it's a 9% jump.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
That's a big jump. And they're talking about expanding to the stadium next door. The Indianapolis Colts Stadium is a possible solution because let me tell you, that place was crowded. So everything's booming at Gen Con, obviously. And I think they're under contract till 2020. So they're in Indy for a good while yet. So they're going to have to figure something out. All right, I'm talking about some game company news. Fantasy Flight. As William spoiled earlier, Game of Thrones is rumored to release in September.
You heard it here first, folks. I spoiled the news.
If you go to their site, you'll see that they report their game releases at different stages. Game of Thrones is on the boat. Okay. Another big reveal they had at Gen Con was their reissuing and updating of Mission Red Planet. Mm-hmm. I didn't get to play it, but I saw some cool new miniatures, which was a major upgrade from the little discs they had before.
The whole layout looked cool. It looked way more contemporary. I don't know how else to explain it. Just awesome.
It's getting a Fantasy Flight treatment, which is awesome. This is at the printer, so this could be a holiday release, maybe.
Okay.
And then another big announcement, which was allegedly the big Fantasy Flight announcement from Gen Con, was Warhammer Quest: The Adventure card game. So this is a co-op card game, kind of in the realm of the Pathfinder card game.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Could be
a group of people taking on an adventure, and I think there's advancement kind of thing going on. Mm-hmm. That's in development, which makes me feel like that was a very early announcement. But I will say this, I was overall pretty underwhelmed with the Fantasy Flight Gen Con announcement.
They didn't really say too much.
There was no barn burner. There was no big, holy crap! When they talked about before Armada, people were freaking out when that announcement happened last year. So they probably, I wonder if they just had to rush this announcement out because they were we don't really have too much.
Well, and you have to think, they have to reach saturation at some point, right? I mean, they can only have so many LCGs, so many big things they're pushing. And because a lot of their stuff now is almost subscription-based. They're releasing something new every other month or something like that. So I imagine they're always in development on that. They'd have to keep adding more people to the team.
Yeah.
So I think at some point, they kind of have to quit running out of stuff to do, or they're going to have to get, add a lot more people underneath that banner.
Yeah. All right, so that's some stuff from Fantasy Flight. Now I want to talk about another company that I really like a lot, Stronghold Games. They announced Space Cadets Away Missions, which is in the Space Cadet, world, universe, whatever you want to call it. That kind of cool, silly, retro sci-fi look and feel. But this is a board game with minis, fighting aliens. It's more of a tactical kind of look to it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's scheduled to come out in September. It's a different designer than the old Space Cadet stuff. But I listened to an interview with the designer, and he said he really tried to keep that kind of lighthearted retro sci-fi theme to the whole thing. So that could be kind of cool.
That'd be kind of neat. Do you know, is it like a dungeon delving style? Or
I think it's like missions, and I think so there's different scenarios, and everyone's playing, crew members, and there's crazy retro-looking aliens they fight, and stuff. Don't know much about how the actual play is. Another one they announced that got a lot of talk was Survive Space Attack. So this is a kind of retheming of the old Survive game.
Yes.
Which, you have.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Into a space theme. And it's, I think, again, the Space Cadet world. But it's on a space station.
Called Atlantis.
Yeah. It's on a space station, and instead of a sinking island, it's, fleeing from destroying I think it's aliens invading or something.
Yeah, there's
like
aliens flying around shooting you and stuff.
From what I've heard, it definitely adds some additional bits. Like, I think you can get in fighters and go out and fight the aliens a little bit.
I think there's little gun turrets you can land or something.
So it's definitely a different theme and mechanically a little different. I thought you were going to be jazzed about it. I was kind of jazzed about it, but you didn't seem to be all that.
Well, Survive hasn't hit the table. I mean, when we first got it, we played quite a few games of it, and then we haven't really been into it too much. And I mean, there is a little bit extra, but it seems like they reskinned it and put the ability that you can go out in a ship and shoot used to be sharks and stuff moving around. It didn't feel like it added up to me that it made me go like, ooh, there's going to be something new. It really felt almost like a reskin from everything I saw.
Then, in November, they have a game that I'm very intrigued by. This is 504, designed by Freedom and Freeze, who is the German game designer who brought us Power Grid and First Sparks. A lot of people will recognize his games because they all come in green boxes. And if you've ever seen a picture of the guy, he dyes his hair green. Mm-hmm. This is a modular game, which basically you take three kind of classic elements of Euro games, or board games at least, and you combine them into a set and make a game. So theoretically, there's 504 combinations. So you could have a trading game with area control and set collection, right?
That sounds really ambitious.
It sounds really ambitious. The early rumors I've heard about it is it works. There's apparently like little helpers things that kind of tell you how to combine the sections so they run smoothly. And there's even some crazy theme that they put on this game about time-traveling scientists or something like that.
Okay.
Or dimension-traveling scientists. That's supposed to explain why this game's different this time, But that's just a Euro thing. Yeah, we'll make some story up and play the game. I'm really intrigued. I really like Power Grid. And if this works, I mean, that is really unique.
Yeah, and from me wanting to be a designer perspective, that sounds really cool to just have these mechanics that hopefully work well together, and you can take them out and the game still functions. Yeah. That just seems really interesting to me. Yeah. So yeah, I'm getting more excited every time you mention it.
Yeah, if it's functional, it's almost like having a design toolbox, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's kind of cool. One last shout out for Stronghold Games. When I was doing my research for this news segment, not all game companies make it real easy to find their new releases or to get a hint of an actual release date. Stronghold Games, right on their front page, release schedule all the way through December, I think it was. Now, they may not make all their deadlines, but at least they have a vision and they're communicating that vision to their customers and their fans. So good job, Stronghold. All right, this is another one. A company that we really tried to get some stuff from at the con and failed. Cryptozoic. We wanted Spyfall really bad. They brought 25 copies a day, which was amazingly disappointing.
Yeah.
But they announced something really big, I think big. They were in a partnership with GameStop, and they're going to be selling their game in GameStops. 6,600 locations are going to sell Cryptozoic games.
Did they say what games?
Yeah, they're going to sell Spyfall. They're going to sell Big Bang Theory, the party game. Which,
but I can understand. I mean, that's a mass market game. I can see that.
They have a Walking Dead Don't Look Back dice game, which I'm not even familiar with. It might be a new IP thing that they just got into. And some of their other games as well. But, I mean, you think that 6,600 like non-traditional points of distribution for them, I think that's going to either that's going to crash and burn and GameStop's going to drop them in a year, or that's going to blow things up for Cryptozoic.
Yeah, it's ambitious, and it's a good idea because, I mean, video games are video games, board games are board games, but there's a lot of crossover appeal, and they're feeling the same, while they might interface everything different, I feel like they feel the same need. And with how networked all video games are and how big multiplayer is, this might bring a lot of people like, oh, I can do this local, like this is something I can actually hang out with my friends and do. We don't have to be in our individual houses. Like, I can see it being something. And if they start, especially like that Big Bang stuff, like them doing the mass market appeal games and then some of the other stuff, it seems like a good idea. Like, I'm surprised no one else has attempted this.
Yeah, I think that it could be a huge burst of cash flow for them, potentially. All right, let's turn to a little bit different part of the gaming industry. Let's talk about some Kickstarter stuff.
Oh, okay.
All right, crowdfunding, right? First off, Scoville has an expansion on Kickstarter right now. We talked about Scoville in an earlier segment. I really like it. This is called Scoville Labs. It only has, like, as of this recording, about a week to go. It's at $49,000. It's going to make its plan, no problem. This adds 6 private labs for players to experiment on peppers.
Okay, cool.
Which sounds kind of cool because if you've played Scoville, you know that timing, using the peppers you plant and the peppers other people plant, there's opportunities to get really cut off and messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is some way to kind of like dedicate resources to the thing you want to focus on, that could be really interesting. There's going to be new orders to fulfill for victory points, new recipes to make victory points, and more pepper meeples, which, how can you go wrong with pepper meeples, right?
So tasty.
Another big one that was announced was One Night Ultimate Vampire.
Okay.
This is being billed as a prequel to One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
A prequel, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It adds 14 new roles. It's very vampire-centered. And I think the general shtick with the vampires is they spread.
So is this an expansion then for One Night Ultimate?
It's a standalone, which can be mixed.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So they have 17 days to go, and they're already at $216,000. So they're going to do just fine. All those One Night and Werewolf titles, I think, do really well.
I wonder how vampires spread out over one night, though. That seems like a mechanic that would work well over multiple rounds.
Right.
Like the more...
Maybe you switch tiles on people or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, back it and you can find out. All right. Another big one is Numenera Into the Ninth World. So Numenera, I bought this when it was pretty new. I really kind of was intrigued by the system. It's a die 20 system, but not like a D20 die 20. They use a die 20.
It's not like 3rd edition.
But it has a very unique mechanic in that the Game Master, whatever you want to call him, doesn't roll anything ever. Like the players are rolling, and that's it. And the world was really fascinating to me because it's a bazillion years in the future. There's actually been the rise and fall of many civilizations when this game starts. And we're kind of living in this world that's so inundated with old tech that it's like a fantasy-like setting. There's all this old tech littering the world, and it's become kind of like magic.
Right, like isn't like the wizards basically controlling like nanites and that type of thing?
Yeah.
It's everywhere, but no one can see.
And generally speaking, people don't know what they're doing. They just know, this gizmo will plow my field. I don't know how. Yeah. It's really intriguing. Lots of, it's kind of high fantasy with this weird tech thing running through it. Well, this is a Kickstarter for 3 actual separate hardbound book type expansions where they take this into different realms. So it's Into the Deep, water, right?
Okay.
Into the Night, and then Into the Outside. So they're basically realm books for Numenera, 3 of them in one Kickstarter. It's already at $156,000. Numenera has been very successful on Kickstarter. It's pretty popular for, kind of I don't want to say indie, but it's not backed by one of the major role-playing companies.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mainstream role-playing game on Kickstarter, but not very much else.
Right. All right. So then I have one last crowdfunding news tidbit. It's not really game-related, but it is geek-related. This is from Indiegogo. Some architects in Britain have put an Indiegogo project up to build a full-size replica of the Minas Tirith city envisioned in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films. Like, not a model, and not even like a set piece, but an actual full-size city, medieval fortress city. The the Indiegogo goal is £1.85 billion.
Wow. Okay.
It includes, crazy levels where you can actually, I think, have like an apartment in the city, or you can get carriage rides when you ever go to the city. It's going to be theoretically built in the south of England. It's just this giant edifice. Like, think of someone kickstarting Mount Rushmore. That's basically what these people are trying to do.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. There's already memes about it with orcs crowdfunding to attack it and stuff. It has 46 days to go on their Indiegogo plan, but they've only raised £64,000.
Well, okay.
Out of $1.85 billion.
So they're not going to make their goal. I'm calling it right here.
No, I don't think they are. But it's kind of cool. Outrageous and cool.
And that's what's cool about the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo stuff in general to me is that how else would this ever happen, right? I mean, you'd have to find some billionaire somewhere that's like, oh yeah, I love that. Let's make it happen. Yeah. But this gives them mind you, if you had said it had already raised like 1.9 billion, and it's overfunding, I would have fallen out of my chair. I can't believe, but there's that slim chance that this could fund. That somebody, I mean, not this one right now, obviously, because it's where it's going, but something like this could fund. Like, you can get this crazy stuff, and that's what the cool thing is about crowdfunding is that it gives you these options to actually, if you do something that's niche, but has enough people involved with it, you have to have more realistic, like,
I think the scale is just too far out of whack. I mean, because what's a phenomenal Kickstarter? Millions of dollars?
Yeah.
Is phenomenal. This is billions of, and these aren't even dollars, they're pounds, so those are like, what, $1.8 or something like that? This is a ton of money. Not to mention, you're basically building a city. Like, talk about red tape. I mean, this is crazy, but also awesome.
Yes. It's both at the same time.
All right, that's it for the news. Let's go on to some thoughts.
Right. So what I've been thinking lately is we're always playing new stuff, right? Because we're trying to do reviews, we're trying to keep up to date on news, and we just don't want to miss out on anything.
We're junkies.
Yes. But what's something that maybe, looking back, you want to bring back to the table more that we haven't had a chance to lately?
The one, there's multiples, but the one that comes to mind immediately is probably still one of my favorite co-op games of all times, and that's Ghost Stories.
Okay. I'll play a game.
I dig that game. It's classic, kick-in-the-face hard co-op game, which totally neutralizes the alpha gamer thing. And you create this real camaraderie as you all get eaten by demons, basically. I love that game. Anytime someone's played that game, I think I would be down. Another one that comes to mind for me is Bruges.
Yeah, we haven't played that recently.
We have not played Bruges in quite a while, but we were playing it fairly consistently for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a real solid, smooth-flowing, unique Euro. They call it a point salad game, but that doesn't bother me a bit because you always have stuff to do in that game. It's enough interaction that it doesn't get kind of boring between turns. It's got dice in it, just a real special game, which now has expansions. So we need to play Bruges. How about you?
It's not that old, but Deus.
Oh, Deus, yeah.
We were into that. I think it was, and then it fell off our radar. I feel probably because we're always doing new stuff, but it's something I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I really like the finite engine building. I thought that was really cool of building up something, and then it ends, and then you have to move on to something else or be in the good enough state to end the game that way. I just really, really liked it.
Yeah, good game.
So that's looking back. Looking forward, what's something that maybe we haven't played yet, or that you're hoping is going to be fun to play soon?
Well, I bought Arcadia Quest, and I'm really looking forward to playing that game. It comes with a bunch of minis. You were kind enough to pick up a couple promo minis for me at Gen Con. I went to the Dice Tower booth and picked up the promo Tom Vassal mini. I painted the promo Tom Vassal mini. It was the first mini I've painted in like 12 years. It shows, but it was fun. It was fun, and I'm looking forward. I already primered up all the other heroes, so I'm kind of half committed to doing the rest of them. I'm looking forward to that game. From what I've heard, it's gotten a lot of good reviews. From what I've heard, it kind of has the feel of, oh man, what is that? City of Thieves game. Remember that game where you have a war band with unique powers that go into the steal stuff?
Yeah.
So it has that kind of semi-competitive feel, but it's dungeon delving more than stealing stuff. And your war band is not like a clan. It's like unique guys that you pick at the beginning of the game. They're all different.
So you get to customize them.
Yeah.
Get stuck with one thing.
Yeah, make a team basically. And there's a little bit of screwing with each other, but there's also fighting monsters. And I love the look of it. It's sort of chibi, but it's all high. It's cool mini or not super high quality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one I'm really plugged into and looking forward to. How about you?
Legendary Encounter.
Oh yeah.
Predator.
Oh, yeah.
Now we played Alien. We played it just a handful of times because the sorting and everything was so cumbersome. I've sorted all my Predator cards, so it's ready to play. We just basically have to pull it out of the box.
Yeah.
They did a slightly better job, I feel. I don't know, it felt, maybe it's because I've already gone through the pain with the Alien one, but it felt easier with this one to sort them. Same storage problems, but for gameplay that doesn't matter. And it has a cool, are you humans surviving predators, or are you predators hunting humans for fun and glory, basically? So it has this cool, we get to go both ways. You can do cooperative against predators, or not really. You fight each other, or you go head on head, just murdering humans for fun and profit, basically.
Do the predators fight each other?
They can. They have cards so they can actually kind of poke each other a little bit and stuff like that. So it's cool because it seems like basically you have, unless you play both ways, unless you play like the Alien game, or unless you play more in like the Marvel Legendary one where you're just kind of doing it for victory points with some elbow ribbing kind of going on. You hit them in the ribs a little bit. So
going through it and organizing it, do you feel like overlapping this with the Alien game would be easy, or is it going to take some work?
It seems like it'd be incredibly easy. I mean, the characters you buy, basically the characters that are populating the story, you can completely throw like Dutch into the Alien one and Ripley into this one, no problem at all. They have a couple of different abilities, like keyword abilities, but it's more like an expansion type of thing where it's just, they work better if you have them all together, but they can completely work with other ones. And the rules explain how to have predators hunting aliens and vice versa. So it seems like that there's no real conversion or anything needed at all, which is kind of funny because I'm going to cap this off with, I bought a conversion pack, and I haven't opened it up yet. It's a little pack of cards that cost $10 when I bought the game. And then I read the rules, and it's like, this is what you do to convert it. It's just a name. It's just names are different. And like, they call this zone one the hatchery in one, and it's called like the jungle in another one. But I'm wondering what I paid that $10 for. What's in that pack?
I was standing next to you at the upper deck booth when you got Jedi mind tricked into buying that. That was pretty awesome. All right, well, this was a pretty meaty episode, right?
Yeah. I think we got some stuff off our chests.
All right, everybody. Well, the plan is we're going to do these twice a month, interwoven with our normal review and discussion videos.
Mm-hmm.
These are going to obviously be a little meatier, have different topics each time, plus usually a review and some news. So we'll also be releasing these as podcasts as well as on our YouTube channel. Really look forward to, everyone checking that out and growing this and trying to keep it moving forward. We're always trying to improve what we're doing. We'd love your feedback. So please jump in the comments and let us know. If you haven't already, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Catch you guys next time.
Very hot.
It's a little warm in here. Actually, it's a lot warm in here.
Ugh.